Hello and welcome back to the X-Files Revisited. We are on to the penultimate episode of Season 4, Episode 23, Demons. Brian, I think you had a little bit of confusion the last time when you told us about this episode. Shall we clear that up first?
Yeah, I think we best start. So yeah, this obviously at the end of the last episode, I made some assumptions about what episode this was going to be, and it so wasn't the episode I thought it was. So don't quote me on this, but I think the episode I was thinking of is an episode called Field Trip,
Right.
which is later down the line. But yeah, so I said that if you wanted to, if you didn't like anything that came after this episode, you could technically say it didn't happen. But yeah, anyway, it's neither here nor there. If you're an X-Files fan, you're probably aware of exactly what I'm talking about. If
Right.
not, let's just move on.
Yeah. Remember that time when you told us the next episode was the worst episode ever in the entire X-Files franchise?
Yeah. So this can be added to the tally of Brian's cock-ups. So,
At
Anyway.
least I won't let you forget him. So, Brian, tell us a little bit about Demons and its
Well,
legacy.
It's bizarre because as a fan of the show, clearly I didn't remember this one at all. And this is actually a mythology episode. This is it's part of the overarching mythology of the show. So yeah, those are usually ones I don't forget, and they're usually ones I rewatch more than any other. So the fact that I didn't recollect this one all that much kind of worries me a little bit, because I'm getting a bit older. I'm just starting to wondering if things aren't working properly the way they used to. But again, we'll swiftly move on from that and hope for the best. But do you care to hazard a guess as to where this one ranks?
Yes, a number's just popped in my head. I'm going to pull out of thin air. 143.
143. Okay. Yeah, that's wrong. It is actually 115. And you'll recall last episode, Elegy was 114. So this sits right smack bang where Elegy was. Now, Elegy, we both agreed, is a severely underrated episode. And I'm judging from the guess that you made as to the position of this one, that this, in your mind, is possibly an overrated episode, but we'll get into it very shortly.
Yeah, I suppose we can. We will get into it.
Yes. It's always interesting to hear your thoughts on a mythology episode, because I know you're not quite as into them as I am, but
We'll see.
yeah, let's see. Okay, so all right, so the episode opens up on a bad dream of Samantha Mulder, and Mulder wakes up from said dream, calls Scully, and he's covered in blood. So yeah, I can't remember if that's where the teaser ended. I think it is. Pretty sure it is. But yeah. How's that grab you?
Yeah, it's super interesting because you get the kind of flashbacky stuff where it's weirdly shot, so it kind of leads you into something's very different, whether it be a real flashback or not. You're not sure, but something's weird here. The waking up in the motel with blood is pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
That leads me like so many questions.
Yeah.
Of what's going on, and the fact that you can obviously tell that Mulder's questioning everything as we are.
Yeah.
This should lead a good mystery.
Yeah, I did like it, and again, like I say, I couldn't remember it, and I don't know why, because it's actually it is a good opening. It's one that's like, okay, it's not a villain of the week in the sense that we open on characters that we don't know, because that's what you usually do. You open on someone we don't know, and something happens to them, and that's your teaser. Whereas this happens to one of our primary characters, So it's, you know, right off the bat, this one's going to be more personal because it's directly related to them. You know, you got Samantha involved, so it's going to be really personal because that's the most personal thing as far as Mulder's character goes. And obviously Mulder kind of, blood all over him. It's as an opening, it's kind of reminiscent of the Skinner episode from season 3 where he wakes up with the dead woman in his bed, but a little bit more kind of, I don't know, guess personal because it's Mulder. So we get past the opening credits and Scully races to the hotel. Mulder tries to keep warm in the shower and Scully examines him, and 2 rounds were fired from his gun. She urges him to go to the hospital, but he finds a key with Amy written on it.
And it's doubling down on the mystery at the start, you know, just like almost drip feeding you worse information, really. You know, doesn't have his keys. So, there's a psychology in finding like a key ring with a female's name on it. You kind of look, more worried about that. The fact that he's 2 gunshots or 2 bullets have been out his gun. It's again still leading to that mystery, and I like the mystery. It kind of pulls you along a little bit. So.
Yeah, it's not looking good for him.
No. But I like the pragmatism that he has. You know, as a detective and as someone who gets into the mind of profiles people, he's looking at the evidence and going, it's looking like me. I want to dig in and find out, but it looks like I did this.
Yeah. That's the thing. He's not willing to out and out dismiss it.
No.
And I think a lot of people in that situation would be, I'm not a killer. I've been set up here. This I couldn't have done this, and he'd start freaking out. But like you say, Mulder is very much, okay, this is the evidence. This ain't looking good for me, but let's follow it. Let's follow the chain. So Scully says the manager saw Mulder check in alone, and the key matches a car outside with blood on it, registered to a David Cassandra. So again, it's just that constant kind of raising the questions. Okay, who's David Cassandra? Who's this Amy? Why does Mulder have their car that he's clearly driving because it's covered in blood and he's covered in blood, and it's just literally you're like, okay, really need to know what's going on right now. So we get this what just seems out of nowhere, this random scene, because like we're going along with Mulder's investigation, and then boom, all of a sudden we see this dude cutting out heads on photos whilst bleeding from his own.
It's like you say, it comes from nowhere. And to be honest, it doesn't have to be there at all. Because it doesn't really lead to anything other than back to that situation where the pictures are got their heads cut out.
I mean, so obviously it comes back later with regards to the character, and I think it's just, I think if you take it out, then when we go to a scene later in which we see that copper again, and he walks in from a particular room in the police station and goes into another one and shoots himself. I think that scene would be a little bit jarring if at the time that he does it, you don't, because when he comes on screen, you're instantly going, oh, that's that guy cutting out the heads.
Yeah.
So instantly your kind of, your train of thought is that I want to follow this guy. So where's he coming into play? Whereas if you remove this scene, when you get to the police station, you don't know who that guy is. He's seemingly of no interest. So I feel like it'd be more jarring. I think you'd still get what's going on based on the information you get afterwards. But I just think that pulling us into his world all of a sudden in the final act of the episode would be like, oh, who's this dude? Why?
Yeah,
what?
like I get what you're saying, but I almost think the mystery of it would be, because like when he turns up in the prison, you're like, oh, that's that messed up guy. Like likes to cut faces out of pictures and bleed from the
Yeah,
forehead.
yeah, but
He's
that's the
weird.
point, and I think you need that personally.
Yeah, I'd be interested to watch it with that out of it to see what it did to that sequence, because just that, like, out of nowhere, going like, wow, this is crazy. What's going on here? The more questions adding up.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. We're
Yeah.
arguing over semantics. It's there.
It's, right. So, but at the time that it comes in, it does feel a bit random. But obviously, when this guy comes back, because it's built up some intrigue as to, okay, who is this guy and why is he cutting out heads? when once he comes back into it, you're kind of like, it's the head guy, right? They're going to explain. So I do feel it pulls you back in some way. But Mulder and Scully knock on the door. Amy's housekeeper answers. Mulder spots a painting of a house that he recognises. So
did you think the housekeeper was a bit aggressive to start with? Or was that just me?
No, that's not just you. I was just like, she comes to the door with some real sass, but I think it's because she opens the door just as Mulder's putting the key in it,
right?
And it's just so it's like already her defences are up. It's like, what the hell? This guy was literally just trying to let himself into the house. So I think so. As far as the actor plays it, I do think she makes the right choices. But it is funny. See,
yeah, I had a giggle at it. I thought it was just.
But yeah, so yeah, Mulder recognises the house, and he gets to the house.
Hang on. When she goes, yes, she likes to paint the house, and then they take a step into a room where it is littered with house painting.
Yeah,
I almost broke. That's like, it's
obsessive
so
compulsive disorder. Yeah. So Mulder and Scully get to the house, and when Mulder sees it, he has visions or flashbacks, potentially one or the other, to his parents arguing while a young cancer man, stands in the next room. So, and obviously this feeds into a lot of the stuff from way back in the episode Herrenvolk, which was the season opener, when we learnt that there had been some kind of previous relationship between Cancer Man and Mrs. Mulder. So obviously this episode is exploring that even further. So Scully says hospital. You need to get your ass to a hospital right now. Mulder says, I feel really good. So he goes into the house and they find two bodies. One gunshot wound in each, hence the two gunshot fires from Mulder's gun. Scully refuses to believe he did it. He's not so sure. Detective wants douchebag detective of the week. We love those.
Yes.
This guy looks like he'd just be really satisfied being able to nail an FBI agent.
Yeah, and he is a douchebag cop, and I was thinking about this during the episode. Like, he's normally one of these ones that we just rail on.
Yeah.
But when you look at the evidence he's presented with, he's kind of doing what he should do.
Yeah, kind of feels open and shut, really, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So
even Mulder's like not arguing.
Yeah. So the detective wants.
He is a douchebag though.
Yeah, it's just the attitude, isn't it? Lose the attitude, mate. So detective wants Mulder to ride with him on the way to the hospital. So at the autopsy, Scully finds a scab on Amy's head and wants some tests to be run. And it's a nice little moment there where she peels the scab off. But
yeah, it's lovely.
Lovely stuff. We love a good Scully autopsy. The detective brings in Mulder's bloody shirt and arrests him. It's kind of nice little scene. because it's usually Mulder who's on the other side of that, and he'd probably pull out his New York Knicks t-shirt.
Well, you mentioned that where it is normally Mulder on the other side of it. I was thrown earlier on to see him in blue jeans and a white t-shirt. It just looked odd. Just odd. It feels like... It just feels like Mulder's out of sorts completely when he's not in a suit, almost. And you see this sequence here. This guy walks in with this bag, like it's CCTV of him.
Committing the crime.
And not even telling them, do you know, that kind of like teasing way?
Yeah, I've got evidence in this bag that is irrefutable that you did it.
Would you like to change your story?
Yeah. He basically just gives him something that he already knew he had.
Yeah.
It's like, I took them off this morning and gave them to you. So, okay. Where am I? So, taking him to a cell, Scully comes over to tell him about some medical evidence that would suggest Mulder had been drugged. And the detective ain't buying it. So, again, this is like your typical kind of, it's what you would expect of Scully, is that dogged kind of faith in her partner. She knows who he is. She knows that he would not knowingly or willingly kill someone. So because of that, there is only one other possible reason behind it, which is that somebody has set Mulder up. So she knows to look for that. Whereas again, like the detective would be like, yeah, this is pretty open and shut. I think it does show as well that in life in general, we need people to have faith in us. We need those people in our lives who know us enough to have faith in who they believe us to be. And I think, not to get too into it, but I do know some people who have been convicted of certain things that I don't believe they're guilty of. And it's the whole open and shut case thing. I never buy that it's so open and shut. Okay, just based on personal experience. But so the officer, a man who was cutting up photos. This is where he kind of comes back into it. He's just we see that there's the dude in the police station. It turns out he's a police officer. He's a cop. Yeah. Oh, what's he doing? Where's he go? Oh, he just blew his brains out. Okay. It's like, okay, that wasn't where I was expecting this to go. Yeah. So Scully and the detective go to the officer's house, and the detective says that the officer had become a bit of a joke because he believed in aliens. Scully finds Abductee magazine. It's like there's no effort. So cheesy. No effort's gone into from the props department in that one. It's like, we need a name for this magazine that's going to tell us that Abductee magazine. It's like the most kind of nail on the head.
It's almost like it'd be better if it was the Inquirer, I was abducted by lizard people.
Yeah. So Scully finds Abductee magazine with Amy on the cover and thinks it may have been a suicide pact.
Yeah. At this point, I wasn't sold on that at this point at all.
You weren't?
I still felt there was no, because there's one gun that shot two people at the same time, seemingly, or like I don't know how it did. One shoot one and then kill themselves. I don't know. I felt there was more to it. There was going to be more come out of it. I just felt like it wasn't going to be as simple as that. I was like, nah.
Yeah.
That's like another red herring they're going to throw us off here.
Yeah, because we've seen this one guy shoot himself, so clearly it has an effect where it makes them kill themselves, and then clearly either Amy or David has killed themselves. But did one take the gun and kill themselves and put it down, and then the other one picked up the gun and killed themselves, or did one shoot the other one before shooting themselves? So it's like if each one of them killed themselves, then that would make more sense than some killing themselves and then some killing other people before killing themselves. It's not consistent. So so Mulder has another flashback of his mum hitting Cancer Man. So they're arguing, screaming, and she ends up slapping him. And then he wakes up and starts screaming for the guard. So he's like, "God!" Which is a scene that I feel like we've seen before in the X-Files for some reason. I can't remember where. It seems reminiscent.
Could be Krychek in the silo, maybe. I don't know.
Could be. So Scully arrives. Mulder says he didn't do it. She agrees, says the evidence is too contradictory. Scully also says that Mulder was most likely in contact with Amy at some point because she claimed to be an alien abductee.
Yeah.
Amy had undergone treatment to recover memories from her past, and the excessive painting was a symptom of that treatment because apparently this drug causes similar effects to something called Waxman-Geschwind syndrome, which causes the person suffering from it to get fixated on one particular thing, become obsessively compulsive about it, before having suicidal tendencies.
Yeah, great.
Not that I don't mean to laugh at people who may be suffering from.
It just sounds like the worst drug on the planet, to be honest. There's no benefits from it.
But it is from this point that it seems pretty obvious as to what has happened to Mulder, because everything's literally just been spelled out to us. So Mulder and Scully visit the psychologist who is treating Amy and find Mulder's car.
Yep.
Dr. Goldstein says he was using an aggressive form of treatment that wasn't invasive. Apparently, he also treated the police officer. Scully judges him from the moment she walks in the room, and the doctor says Waxman-Geschwind syndrome isn't necessarily destructive. This is a side of Scully that we often see with regards to professionals, particularly medical professionals, supposedly. I feel like it's one of her real kind of bugbear issues, where when she finds someone in the medical profession that she deems or believes is doing something underhanded or something that they shouldn't necessarily be doing, she really gets in their face. It's something that really rubs her the wrong way. But it's like the moment she walks into that room, you just sense that she wants to just nail this guy.
You can almost see that he's broke his code of ethics.
He's
not doing what he should be doing.
So,
but then at the same time, he could always say, like, patient confidentiality, not just like, I was only doing some extremely aggressive treatment.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any duality at all. Like, as soon as the car's in the car park, you're like, this is the guy.
Yeah. Like, but I like when they walk in and they do question him. Like, I think what you were saying there. I didn't feel like this guy was a villain as such. He's probably breaking his code of ethics, but I feel like he's probably been above board with the people that he's breaking his code of ethics with. I feel like he's and he is being upfront. I feel like he's saying that, this is what I've done. They really wanted to remember And so I feel like to some degree this guy was genuinely trying to help these people get,
Yeah, but he's also preying on them as well, because that's he's using his treatment plan to try and get him to the thing. I mean, he's doing something he shouldn't be doing, because it is evasive, but he's leaning on these people who have that already obsessive compulsive nature.
Yeah, like I'm only talking about this scene. Yeah. Like, obviously, the more we go on in the episode, the more it is revealed that actually, this guy wasn't quite as helpful as he appears. I'm just saying, from the moment they walk in here, Scully's all up in his face, like ready to throw him under the bus. Whereas, like, from what I'm seeing just in this scene, I'd probably be a bit more. I'd probably take a more gentle tack with this guy, because he's not necessarily giving me anything that suggests he's an out and out villain. Maybe in fact,
they've cast a guy who you can quite see as being anybody's next door neighbour. Just that friendly older guy. I think it's quite good as well.
Yeah. So outside, Mulder and Scully say he's lying about not having met Mulder before. Scully thinks Goldstein treated Mulder, but why? So clearly Mulder wanted to remember something. Hello. So Mulder has another flashback. Scully says, "Hospital, damn it." Mulder says the flashbacks are helping him to recover something about his sister. He says he needs to see his mum. And she says she's driving. So, Mulder being as stubborn as ever. Yeah, it's like, this is going to kill me, but I don't really care. It's almost like Mulder has a bit of a death wish, because he's like, well, Scully's dying anyway, so I may as well try and go before her. But Mulder grills his mum about his dad. He asks who his father was, and she slaps him. She leaves the room, not giving him an answer, and Scully enters to find Mulder gone. So
you can tell there's an increase in agitation in Mulder. The moment he storms in the house, he's straight past his mum. He's kind of fidgety. He's talking. Scully tries to bring reason into the conversation, so naturally he's like, "Can I have a private word with you? Like, I want to get the crazy out fully here." And you just it's an interesting sequence. I kind of like this one.
Yeah, it's interesting seeing the parent-child dynamic as well. That whole thing that you're never too old to have a good hiding from your mum or dad. At least from their generation, anyway. These days, you get locked up for it.
I'm assuming that when he drives away, he's crying. Like, because his mum just smacked him.
But it is interesting that there's almost a power dynamic going on there, where it's like Mulder comes in and he's taking some power. He's taking steps to get answers, but instantly, the way that a parent is able to, they just kind of they lay down that authority, and like I say, she gives him no answers. She gives him a slap and walks off, and there's nothing he can do about it, because at the end of the day, she's the mum and he's the child. So but it is frustrating as well that we don't get an answer, because we as the audience are also, we're like, I want those answers, actually. I would like to know what's going on here. So we can feel Mulder's frustration.
I just feel like she gives an answer by not answering. I'm not even going to dignify that. Like, that's you're getting a slap and get the hell out.
You
drive
think
away and cry.
You think it's as good as her saying, "Yeah, I did. I slept with him." Oh, yes, I did. You're your father's son. Your father being your father, not the smoking man. Yeah. Okay, you're Bill Mulder's son. Samantha, on the other hand,
take your pick.
So Mulder goes to Goldstein and asks him to finish the job he started. So Goldstein hooks him up.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, he's very eager to get him back on the machine. So police raid Goldstein's as he cleans up, but Mulder is gone.
Did you expect, because they do the thing with Goldstein where he gets to drill and it's super slow, and then you see the car. Did you expect him to burst in and stop it before Mulder got drilled? Almost.
Yeah.
I felt it was leaning that way. I was surprised to see him gone.
Yeah. So the procedure got done. Mulder maybe Mulder maybe learned what he needed to learn, and but because normally Mulder's always on the cusp of getting the answers he wants, and then it's taken away from him. So Scully arrives, questions Goldstein quite fiercely. Mulder's last words to him were that he was going to examine his going to exercise his demons. Can't read my own writing there. Not much to say about that. It's a transitionary scene, really. But other than it's nice to see even more of Scully's disdain for this man. Scully goes to Mulder's family summer house, which we saw again way back in Herrenvolk, and Talitha Kumi. Police are waiting there. She's obviously called through. This is a little detail actually that I like, which is that it's not the douchebag cop that is leading the team there. Because obviously it's a different district, and he wouldn't have jurisdiction in that district. So when Scully goes, we get the you can if you're intelligent enough, you fill in the blanks and see. Well, Scully has had to radio the police in that district, tell them what's going on, and they've got to the house. So when she gets there, she meets a different point of contact, and I feel like in another show it would be that douchebag detective again.
Yeah.
But it's
100%.
not. It's someone else, and you recognise this is in a different district. It's obviously different jurisdiction, so it's not the same police man. So nice little detail, which they didn't have to do, but I appreciate that they did.
Same here.
So she tells them she's going in and that Mulder is sick, so don't shoot. Which, if I was them, it would beg the question: what the hell are we doing here then? Well, they can jump him, I suppose, wrestle him to the ground.
Tickle him.
Yeah, tickle him. Make him laugh. Scully talks Mulder down, says the hallucinations are unreliable and they might not even be in his memories. And he shoots the wall in a rather dramatic and tense moment in which we're second guessing whether or not he shot Scully, and we take a deep sigh of relief as we learn that no, he didn't. He just shot the wall, which is a thing that I've seen done multiple times in shows, even in the X-Files. I think we had it done in this season, in fact, in the episode, was it Musings of a Cigarette Smoking Man? Or no, it was it was the Skinner one. It was the Skinner one where he's had Skinner running around doing stuff for him, and then Skinner shoots him at the end, and then so you don't even have to look as far as seeing other TV shows. You don't even have to look as far as a different season of the X-Files. They used it in this season and they thought, oh, that's a nice gag, we'll use that again. but it doesn't. It didn't work then, and it doesn't work now. You're never in any doubt as to whether or not Mulder has shot Scully. Clearly he hasn't.
No.
So, okay, Mulder writes up his report. Scully writes up her report. She essentially says that if we cannot remember the past but rely on it to determine who we are, then we will lose ourselves. Which is kind of the theme of the episode, is the way that memories shape us, and if we can't trust our memories, then can we really trust who we are? Can we really know ourselves? Is it possible to know where you are going if you don't know where you came from? Which I thought was normally a lot of these when Scully's writing up a report at the end and giving us her case file and stuff, a lot of the time it can be a bit cringy and it can be a bit laboured. The one that springs to mind at the moment, I think, is Telico, where you're just like, this was a really crap episode, and they're trying to put this big thematic thing at the end through Scully's voiceover, and it's a bit cringe because it's really heavy-handed. Whereas here, I like what we're hearing from her and the questions it raises, and it is the idea that Mulder's got these memories now of his mum and of his sister and of Cancer Man, and it's like, okay, did that drug bring those memories to light, or has that drug caused hallucinations that are just a complete fabrication? And if so, what can Mulder trust from this point on? It's like, if you can't trust what you remember, then how can you move forward? Because who you are is shaped by your history, by what you've been through or believe you've been through. So but that's the end of that one.
That's demons. That's demons for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question before we get into wrap-ups here. Do the events of this one directly influence the seasons to come, or episodes to come?
Well, I think they have. They've raised certain questions that will come up again. Off the top of my head, I'm going to say that I would hazard a guess you can take this one out.
That's what I'm wondering.
And it wouldn't matter, simply because a lot of the questions that are raised here, I feel, were raised by Herrenvolk.
Right.
Because obviously when we see in Herrenvolk that Cancer Man had a relationship with Mrs. Mulder, I feel like that already raised those questions of, holy crap, Mulder or his sister could potentially be Cancer Man's son or daughter.
Yeah.
So those questions were raised in Herrenvolk. Now, what I would say is that, and this, like, going forward, this will determine whether this matters or not. What this episode does is plant that seed in Mulder's mind, not just the audience's mind. So obviously in Herrenvolk, that seed got planted in our minds, but not in Mulder's mind. Whereas here, we're seeing that actually, okay, these are questions that now Mulder is asking, not just us, the audience. Right. So I guess that's what this episode does, and whether that is necessary, we'll figure that out, I guess, going forward. So.
See, that's the thing that I was uncertain of, because I feel like this episode just now could easily be exercised from the series, and it wouldn't harm anything. In fact, it starts off like a really strong mystery, but I feel that it becomes muddled throughout, and I feel that it almost, because it gets to a point of just believing yourself, don't second guess, and don't try to dig deeper into something using extenuating circumstances like psychotherapy and things like that. Just, basically trust your own memories that you already have. Do we need a full episode for that? Could we have, if we wanted to get Mulder questioning that, could he have found some evidence linking the two of them together, like in another episode? Like, I just don't feel like this. It doesn't feel essential, and I feel like a lot of the legacy, the methodical episodes, feel essential in creating these solid building blocks for the narrative of the entire show. And I don't, not to say this is a bad episode, it's not, it's entertaining and watchable, but I just don't feel like it needs to be there.
I will say that watching season 4 this time around, of these 4 seasons that we've had, I've always been the mythology guy, and I love the standalones. I love the show in general, but I am more geared towards the mythology stuff. I will say I think this is the weakest season as far as mythology episodes go.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Herrenvolt kicked the season off particularly well. We both felt the same way about that one. Tunguska and Terma, while the first episode was a good laugh, seeing Krychek getting beaten the crap out of quite a bit. It kind of descended into a bit of a muddled mess that was stretched too thin for the second part. And then you've got the Tempest Fugit and Max episodes, which aren't that they're not. Again, they're like you could take them out, and it wouldn't really affect the mythology. They're not deep mythology in that episode. Now, they were great episodes, but they felt more like a 2-part standalone episode than they did the much wider mythology. And then, like I say, you've got just like dribs and drabs of mythology stuff here and there. And this one, that again, like last episode, I didn't even remember. Most of this, when I watched it for this episode, I just, it was like watching a fresh episode, to be honest. Now, I will say that I think I did like it a lot more than you. I think I do agree that this probably looks like it's going to be the kind of one that you can take out and it's not going to make much of a difference. I think it'll be interesting to see how Mulder kind of addresses it with those concerned going forward. And if he doesn't in any way, then clearly it doesn't matter. If he does, then it would give it more weight.
Yes. Yes.
So, if what he thinks he remembers here going forward plays into his decisions with regards to how he behaves with people, then it matters. If not, if he just goes on business as usual and never brings it up, then it doesn't matter. That aside, I do like it as a good, solid mystery episode. I think you learn the answers a little bit too soon, maybe. I think there's once you get to Goldstein and what he's doing, it's like it becomes very obvious as to what's happened. Mulder's clearly gone to get some memories back. But I like the confrontation with his mum. I like the interaction between Scully and various characters and stuff. It's hard to grade this one. Now, I did write.
Yeah.
When I did my notes, I did put a 4 out of 5. And I don't feel like we've said anything that is truly detrimental to that score. But I also do. I am going to stick with my 4 out of 5. But I know you're going to grade this lower, and it's one of those cases where it doesn't surprise me, and 2, I can understand it. I can understand someone looking at this episode and thinking, it doesn't really matter. So
like I said, it's not a bad episode. It's not like egregious like some of the other ones we've watched where you're like, I feel it clawing my eyes out. I don't want to see any more of this. Fearful Symmetry. Like it's nothing like that. It's just I just don't feel like it adds anything. I'm going to be a little bit harsh and probably give it a 3 out of 5.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
But with the caveat of if this gets tied in later on, then it becomes inclusive and important. Will rise up.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Tell me a little bit about the season finale, which is Gethsemane.
Gethsemane, yeah. So, biblical reference. So the Garden of Gethsemane.
Sorry, it just flew over my head.
So the Garden of Gethsemane is the garden where Jesus stood and had his moment of doubt about whether he should, whether he should. It's basically he stands in the garden before he's arrested by the Roman soldiers, and he prays to his Father, Lord, if if there's anything you can do to make this go another way, then I'd really appreciate it. But if this is the way it has to be, you know, if I have to go to the cross, then your will be done. But it's often referred to as Jesus' moment of doubt. I don't necessarily see it as doubt, because it's at the end of the day he said contemplation. Yeah, it's because at the end of the day he said your will be done. The fact of the matter is, I think there was an understandably human fear of pain. You know, he knew what he was about to be presented with, and if there was a way he could get out of it that wouldn't change the outcome, then he was looking for options. But there wasn't, so he did it. And yeah, so that the garden where that happened was called Gethsemane, and it's very pertinent to matters concerning loss of faith or doubt. So it's if somebody says you're having a Gethsemane moment, it means you're having serious doubts.
I hear
about
it all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
Yeah. So obviously it's a season finale, so it's a big deal.
Now, let me ask you this: as a season finale, how do you remember it going?
I always remember it going pretty strong. I also, and I don't think this would be a popular opinion, but I also think if you watched it and decided that's my ending, it does work. It works. Ooh. It works as an ending to the show. It might not be the ending people would expect. It might not be the ending people would want. And it might be quite a painful ending, but it does work as an ending. Like if they didn't get renewed after it, and that's, I think actually the legacy of the show, if it didn't come back for a season 5, would be a lot more famous, I think. And I think it would be considered ballsy. Right. Really ballsy as far as an ending goes.
Sounds fun.
So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think you've teased that perfectly. I'm excited, looking forward to seeing what kind of weirdness is going to come from this. Hopefully you'll join us for our season finale, episode 24 of season 4. Can't wait to talk about it. So we'll see you next week, maybe a week after. I don't know. A little bit inconsistent at the moment, but you'll see us soon with the season finale. Thanks for watching or listening. We appreciate it. Bye.
Bye.